Hi, I'm Matt Borg. I'm going to be giving a presentation that I gave a couple of days ago at the World of Learning conference on the 4th of February in London. Um, I thought it'd be useful just to capture some of those things and share it more widely than the hundred or so people who were able to be at that event. I'm going to be talking about coaching and conversations and some of the work that we've been doing with Breeio and with Actian over the last year or so. I've been working in learning technology for more than 20 years and have really always been at the intersection of learning and technology and how that works within organizations. So I'm very much focused on enabling learning and development people to have the technology that they need to deliver the programs that they want to deliver internally. And I work across a number of different sectors, a number of different clients in doing that. Over the last year or so, as we've been talking about AI, particularly AI in learning and development, I think that there were lots of question marks as we went into 2024. It was a question of how much of this is hype, how much of this can we consider help that we can use right now, and how much of it is hope that's on the horizon. I think there were some big question marks that also kind of raised the question, is this something we should be embracing, or should I be bracing myself against it? And I think we're a year on now. We've got some real projects, some real examples of things that are making a difference. And I would say a year later, we now have senior leaders continually ranking Gen AI and AI in general very highly as strategic priority. 75%, according to Boston Consulting Group recent survey, ranking Gen AI as a top three strategic priority. And 25% are saying they're already seeing significant value. Now, this time last year, the number was very high of senior leaders who saw it as a key objective, but they also said that their organizations weren't ready. So it's interesting that this picture over this last year, we've got 25% already seeing significant value. But I think we're still on this spectrum of trust as we begin to use AI and experience it and see some benefits. I think it reminds me of years ago when you'd come to London. Your the way of navigating was the London A to Z, and you had it's a map. You can see where you want to go, and you then navigate yourself. You plot your own course and you navigate yourself using the map. It was a great information resource. We then moved on to SatNav and Google Maps, where we began to enter the destination in, and we trusted the computer to plot our course. We trusted the computer to give us step-by-step instructions on where to go and when to turn. The final step in that probably is I enter my destination and I don't even make the turns myself. The car itself is making the turns, and I'm trusting the computer to not only get me there in an efficient way, but also safely. And I think some of this is similar with AI. We've got use as search tools to use information that we then pull together into our own, but all the way through to trusting more and more of parts of our job, perhaps, trusting more and more the information that's coming out and the analysis. But I think we're all probably somewhere on this spectrum of growing trust in what the computer is able to do for us. And that's going to happen at different levels. Your senior leaders are going to be somewhere on that spectrum. Learning and development people are going to be on that spectrum. And your frontline colleagues that you're delivering for are also going to be somewhere on that spectrum. And I think that's really important to remember. Things that you're delivering to your frontline colleagues for them to use, they will have that uh, spectrum of trust. They'll be somewhere on that spectrum of trust, and it's something to be considered. Before we launch into looking at specific examples of project work and real life results, I just want to walk you through kind of something that I've used over the last couple of decades to analyze business issues and then design training interventions, communication interventions. And really, everything starts with what is the business need? What are we trying to accomplish? Is it cost control? Is it quality improvement? Productivity? All those things that you have as your business needs, because that's going to tell us what we want to measure at the other end as a business outcome. From that, we're going to see what do we want people to do differently? What knowledge or training need is there? What behavior do we want to see? And that again will be something we want to measure out the other side. Are we seeing the behavior change that we were hoping to see because of the intervention? Now, all of this is going to be operating in our environment, our structure, our management, the culture of the organization, HR measures that might be working for or against the initiative, our IT infrastructure. And it's only once we've analyzed those and kind of answered those questions do we come to the training approach question or the intervention and make sure that we're designing something that's going to fit those objectives and be an efficient and effective way of achieving that. So that's important to keep that in mind as we dive into looking at some of these examples of AI. Remember that in each of these cases, we were looking at business need, business outcome, and trying to affect that in an efficient and effective way. We've been building AI learning tools really across a spectrum from what I would call performance support at one end to development at the other, more traditional forms of development. So everything from performance support helpers through to coaches and challenge scenarios that are focused more on individual development. And so we're going to look at some examples of those. Before we do that, I want to tell you a story about a project that we did last year with a university in the US, where we designed some topic tutors for a specific management class on operations management. And what we did with this university, we worked with the professor to design some assistance for the students to use for their process management course, operations management. We designed a tutor that they could interact with. We designed a number of challenges that the professor was able to then use throughout the term. The students could be dropped into a process management scenario, a bottleneck, a problem with the process, and then they were asked to use the knowledge that they'd gained in the course to kind of solve the problem and to work out in discussion with the AI assistant. And the feedback that we got from that, I was able to travel and visit with about 250 of those students, and it was wonderful to hear their feedback and suggestions about how things could be improved. And speaking with the students, they said things like this, the tutor really encouraged me to think critically, think for myself. They said things like, I wish it was available for my other classes. It helped me think at a deeper level. I felt like I had an actual tutor. It asked good follow-up questions to deepen my understanding. They rated very highly the tutor's kind of ability to teach. But it was this comment from a student that was really kind of inspiring and has led to kind of further research and further work. And she said this, I wanted to continue because we were in a conversation. I wasn't just answering a homework question. And I think there's something about that aspect of conversation that in dialogue with something, we can dig a bit deeper. There's more of a connection and we can apply what we've learned. And so we've been exploring that in a number of different capacities, and that's what I want to share with you over the next few minutes. And we'll look at several different aspects of that, beginning with performance support, and then we'll work through some other scenarios. So performance support first. We've built a Microsoft Teams application. You can get this within the Microsoft Teams store for building AI agents within Microsoft Teams. And so here's an example of one that's looking inside our HR policies, and it allows me to discuss with the assistant and ask questions of our HR policy. So here I'm asking about the paternity leave. It's asked me some clarifying questions, and then it's come back with information about um, what paternity leave I'm entitled to. I can even go so far as to give it the due date and ask it to tell me the key dates that I should consider, that are in line with the policy. And it works out the dates that I need to be notifying my employer of my intent to take some paternity leave and some other things that I should think about. So this is all trained on our set of HR policies, our IT security policies, and it allows our people to get those answers kind of in the moment. And they're all able to access it on their phones or tablets, anywhere that they can use Teams, anywhere that I could chat with a colleague, I can chat with the assistant. We also did this work with Welcome. We did Actian did a large project, a campaign really to raise awareness of the code of conduct within Welcome, created this puppet that has kind of been the face of that compliance initiative. And uh, we created the iConnie app that allows the Welcome employees then to interact with that policy and again ask questions of it and get their answers on the expenses and what they can accept in terms of gifts and things. So that's performance support built right into Teams. Now let's move on to a kind of a different kind of conversation. And this is moving into now a bit more coaching and other sorts of conversations. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the benefits of coaching. So well established benefits that are for individuals, things like improved relationships, lasting behavioral change, the employee colleague feels valued, learning can be more applied, and one feels more included. But if we think about the definition of coaching, coaching involves intentional conversations anchored in focused questions that are designed to help move the person toward their desired outcome. So the question I have is, how many of these benefits for individuals might we be able to achieve if we think about using AI to support coaching? Because it's not only the individuals that benefit, but organizations see increased engagement. They see more responsibility being taken, performance improvements, and demonstrated commitment. So positives for individuals, positives for organizations. But unfortunately, coaching comes at a cost. There's a time cost as well. And our organizations really just do not have the expertise to deliver coaching to everyone who might benefit from it. So this is not a message to say we should replace human coaches, but it is a question, I think, that we're asking, and is that, can we broaden access to coaching by using tools and giving people access to tools who otherwise would not have access to coaching? And can we see some of those benefits for individuals, some of those benefits for organizations without the heavy cost and time cost that are currently the limitations? So we've created a coaching companion that we offer to clients, either within the Breeio LMS or outside of it, and it allows someone to start a discussion with the coach, interact with the coach. In this case, I'm asking about help with my time management and prioritization. we've had a short discussion here and we're at the end. It's the coach is sort of wrapping up and saying, we talked about these, we set these things as goals. Here are some resources that might be helpful. And then, come back and get in touch when you're ready. This then adds to my history of conversations that I've had. And when I'm ready, if I want to resume that discussion on time management or prioritization, I just click resume and I'm back into that conversation. But this time, the coach is saying, last time we talked about blocking time in your calendar, using your out of office, and you plan to do those things. How's that been going? Um, how have you been applying some of those things? And so we can pick up the thread. The coach will pick up the thread of the previous conversation, and we can move this on. And I can talk maybe about things that I'm still finding challenging, or that idea hasn't worked so well. So really effective for helping people in a structured conversation, but with a deliberate focus on moving them on toward their goal. Let's think a little bit about coaches now and conversation tools for sales professionals. We've been working with um, companies, particularly pharmaceutical companies, who have a need to train their representatives before they go out into the field, highly regulated. We've been able to create personas of the different healthcare professionals that these representatives might engage with, and then allow them to practice their conversation skills with those healthcare professionals before they go to an official certification with their kind of face-to-face team. That they're able to practice these conversations, and then there's an AI coach that comes in, applies the sales model and maybe some of the product knowledge that they're expected to have, maybe referencing some of the studies that they're meant to be referencing. And that coach will then provide feedback on how well they managed that conversation, how well they used the resources that they have access to. A transcript then is provided, and they would take that to their next one-to-one or session with their mentors. It's really important that we keep the human mentor in the loop as we do these interactions. That's really important to the work that we're doing. Moving on to another type of conversation, but still sales focused. Now we're thinking more about retail staff. And here we've got an example of different types of customers who might come into an outdoor clothing and supply store. We might have a kind of the urban adventurer, the person who likes the brands but isn't that concerned about using them out in the wild, but the prepared parent who's shopping for a son or daughter who's about to go camping. And then you've got the maybe more technically focused avid hiker. So they choose which one of those they want to kind of practice with. And they can do this by speaking, just like I'm doing now. We could be having a conversation with this prepared parent. And she's coming back and saying, I'm looking for some items for my son's DOV expedition. We have that conversation back and forth. And then at the end, there's a switching of roles. The coach comes in and gives the employee feedback and saying, you did well, asking her these things and getting some insight into her specific situation. But here are some things to work on for next time. So really effective, both conversation practice, but also applying those kind of sales techniques maybe that the retail employee has been taught by allowing that coach to give feedback. So we want to be asking the question: is this sort of investment worth it? And I think research has shown that when we enable salespeople, there's a faster onboarding process. When we give salespeople tools like this, they're on board faster. They spend more time in the field rather than coming to a central location to role play. We can do this. They can do this remotely anytime they want to. We see increased customer satisfaction because we have salespeople who are more knowledgeable, and ultimately we see increased sale value. So the value of a particular sale is higher because we have trained salespeople who are ready to have those conversations. Let's think now about turning those conversations that we've so far been thinking about external with customers. Let's think about how we can equip our managers to have better conversations. So this is an example of a conversation coach again, who in this case might be helping a line manager prepare for speaking to someone who's underperforming, but who's very resistant to that idea. They don't accept that they're underperforming, or maybe they're speaking to someone who's very experienced, um, or maybe they're trying to help a colleague manage stress and anxiety. So these are just three examples of conversations that a line manager might have. Um, we can also customize these so that if you're rolling out a big change program and you're depending on your line managers to be delivering that message and to be having conversations, we could prepare personas of people who are likely to receive or not receive that message well, and allow your line managers to practice that conversation before rolling out that message. And again, this can be done on text, can be done on audio. I'm speaking with the persona, then I receive my feedback from the coach. The app then prepares a script, a transcription of what we've just spoken about. I download that, and I then have that to look back at. This is my this is a transcription of the conversation I had, and here's my feedback that I received from the coach, some general feedback, and then my advice moving forward. So really helpful as I'm thinking about having those conversations with my colleagues. I have records then of all those conversations that my line managers have had. Your central learning team, you can see how many people are using the tools, how often, whether everyone who you've asked to use it has used the tool. And the message here really is that these are highly customizable. The person at the other end that I'm speaking to is highly customizable, but also the coach that comes in at the end, who is kind of applying the check on the learning that I maybe have been expected to be applying in this conversation. Both of them can be very tightly specified to your individual situation within your organization. So there's a huge amount of potential as we think about these types of conversations. But again, is this sort of thing, is it worth it? Well, Gallup, the kind of the leaders in studying the state of the global workplace and engagement in general, time and time again would say that, manager engagement is a key driver on engaging the team and getting an engaged team. And that engaged team then leads to increases in productivity, increases in profitability for the organization. And ultimately, it's the customers who benefit from this because you're retaining your people for longer, they're engaged, and they're delivering higher levels of customer service. We're going to move now to some work assistance that we've built and a project that we did for Priory, an organization we've been working with for more than 20 years now. They designed and we designed with them a preceptorship portal. And preceptorship is the first year really of a nurse's career. They're qualified, but it's their first year on the job. They receive some extra support and training during this first year. And Priory really wanted to focus on supporting their distributed nurses who are distributed across 80 plus hospitals around the UK, and they came to us to work on that. We created the preceptorship portal in Breeio and built some AI tools right into it. It won an award late last year for that portal and for the AI tools in it. And what a wonderful award, proven concept in a year where AI is starting to kind of prove itself. It was wonderful that they were recognized for what they've accomplished in in the last year or so. So what did we do? Well, we built some coaches into their objectives setting area within Breeio. So within my objectives in Breeio, I can choose AI assisted coaching, and then I can decide, what my objective is. I talk to the coach back and forth. I say I want to set it a particular objective of gaining confidence in writing care plans for patients on the ward, and we go back and forth, and it helps me shape the objective, and ultimately it summarizes it, gives me a kind of summary of the action plan and some tips and resources that might be helpful that it's found online that might support my work toward my objective. I'm able then to create the objective, and it goes into um, right into Breeio. My manager can see that. I can come back and pick up a discussion about my progress on that objective with the AI coach. And that's been really extremely helpful. In fact, the priority nurse is saying things like it helped me consider things I hadn't recognized myself. Um, they rated very highly the feedback that they got from the AI coach. And so we put it in other places as well. So one thing that nurses are required to do as part of their certification is they need to be reflecting on their practice, their clinical practice. And there are standard forms that the Nursing and Midwifery Council ask them to fill out, certain questions that they're asked to reflect on. So in our learning area within Breeio, when I add a new entry, I can add a reflection, and we've built those nursing and midwifery code um, council, sorry, questions into the form. So these are the four questions that they're answering. So they answer those questions, and then they can ask for feedback, and that feedback coach is trained then on the nursing and midwifery code. So when it comes back with its response and its feedback, it's referencing items in the code and even linking to the code, that are related to what the person was just reflecting on. They can save that feedback. They can then pick that up as well with their mentor when they meet with them in the next time, and helpful feedback from them. Tutor was helpful in guiding them on other things that they might consider. So they've reflected, but it then points out other things that they might consider. They liked the fact that it gave them a prompt and detailed response rather than having to wait for their next appointment with their mentor. They were able to get immediate feedback and work on things. That's I think a really valuable thing. Not to diminish that time with their human mentor, which is the most valuable, but also uh, costly and maybe difficult to scale. So that is still a key component of the program. But in between those times, they've got access to coaches built straight into the Breeio LMS. 90% of the nurses who've used it in this last year said the AI coach was useful for their preceptorship. And we have to ask the question, just like we've asked all those others, is this sort of investment in supporting new nurses worth it? Well, the NHS early careers report says that the support that we give these new nurses is important for recruitment and retention, and we see that in the numbers. It leads to greater patient care. It leads to better clinical outcomes. And ultimately, a program like this is scalable. And that was really important for Priory in that they're now able to look after and support about 3 times the number of new nurses as they were before. So they're able to provide a great first year program for those new nurses because they have the preceptorship portal in Breeio and because they have the Breeio AI kind of built into that portal. One thing to say, because security is a big thing, particularly in the AI world, um, but we build everything with security first. So whether that's delivered via web or Teams or within Breeio or on SharePoint, the data is not shared in any way with Microsoft or OpenAI. You're not training a public model as we correspond back and forth with the chat. It's all private, and just like your OneDrive or your SharePoint, your Office 365 is partitioned off. It is this interaction is fully controlled within the Microsoft environment, and discussions and things are routinely deleted. And so it's set at a very high standard of security. Well, 97% of learning and development people say that AI is already having an impact of some kind on the L&D function. When I asked this question in person a couple of days ago at the World of Learning Summit, many of the hands went up saying that they were already using AI. Many of them were using AI for content work. Uh, the hands went down when we started to go away from that, but I think there's great potential for learning and development to be using tools like these coaching tools, like these conversation coaches, like performance support tools, that where we can put these things into the hands of our colleagues and not just use them to generate more content. And I think we'll see more business impact if we begin to do that. If you'd like to discuss this further, if you'd like to talk about specifics within your organizations, if you'd like to see some of those projects live in a kind of live demo, feel free to request one of our AI Insights hours. Um, that's with me and my colleague, Yuri Dabrowski. Um, we'll share some live examples of things we've been doing, but then also listen to you, discuss with you your particular situation, and perhaps come up with some ideas and ways that you could benefit from AI within your L&D function. I hope that's been helpful. Please do get in touch, and we'll hope to be speaking to you soon. Thanks very much.